10 causes that cause acne and how you can prevent it. Today we're going to be discussing a topic that affects so many of us, acne. I will be uncovering the 10 major causes behind those pesky breakouts and share some awesome prevention techniques to help you achieve that clear, radiant skin you've always wanted. I'm someone who has dealt with acne myself, so I completely understand how you may be feeling if you're dealing with acne. Now, I will be breaking this video up into two segments from what's causing you to break out, and these are external factors and internal factors. And the internal factors will probably be the most mind-blowing for you. It's things doctors don't tell you because they have not been trained to tell you about these issues. So please wait until the very end of this video to hear all the facts and figures that can cause your acne. So I do have a small disclaimer here. I am not a doctor. I am an esthetician. So there are some things that might be in here that you will definitely need to consult with your doctor, because I do not know any diagnoses that you may have, what kind of medications you're taking already, or anything like that. So please do consult your doctor with some of the things that I may be talking to you about today. So it used to be for a very, very long time, and there are still some people that do still think this, but it's not as common anymore as it used to be thought of. But with people who have acne, a lot of times people just thought, oh, they're just not clean, they're not washing their face, or they're touching their face all the time. These are not necessarily what is causing your acne. Most people who obviously have acne and are trying to get rid of it, obviously the first thing they would think about is washing their face. Maybe washing their face with certain products that are made for acne, for instance. And I did a few years ago actually meet someone who still believes that acne is from touching your skin. Obviously, if it was, I wouldn't be doing this right now. So that actually doesn't cause it. Now, it can kind of cause it if you've got dirty fingers. You could be technically clogging your pores and everything, and putting dirt into them and everything, and bacteria, but that's not really the case. And it hasn't been the case like that. I would say some people would definitely realize that that's not the issue. So if you think it's because maybe you touched your face or you're touching your face or anything, that's not your cause. That's not your reason or your cause for it. Also, you probably have been washing your skin and you're probably seeing it. It might clear up a little bit, but then it comes back, or it's just getting worse. So this is what this video is about, is trying to discuss a little bit about what it is, how it works, and what are the possible causes that are causing it and how you can fix it. So I will be sharing with you on my computer screen a little bit of some diagrams and some information just to kind of give you a little bit overall of what acne is and the different degrees. There are 4 different degrees of acne, and so I will be sharing those with you along with other information on my computer. And just to let you know, there was one typo that I made on that video because I've already made it and I didn't even realize it. There's a difference between closed comedones and open comedones, and the closed comedones are basically those little whiteheads without any irritation or redness around them, while the open comedones are considered blackheads. So I just wanted to bring that up because I did make a little mistake on that and I just didn't want to have to redo it or anything. So please just be aware of that. So as you may know, acne results when the hair follicle becomes inflamed, leaving the area red. This may excrete pus due to infection. Even when acne is under control, the skin may scar. There are different levels of acne, and the cause and treatment may be different for each person. So I'm going to go into, some of the diagrams you've probably already seen before. And so obviously this is a hair follicle because the hair follicle is the thing that actually excretes oil to get up on the skin for our acid mantle. And so this is a normal, healthy hair follicle. This one is what's called an open comedone, which is a blackhead. This one here is a closed comedone, which has a white head. And I'll show you real pictures of that just to kind of explain it a little more, because this is where people might get a little bit confused when you come down here slightly. So the papule is actually a solid mass, and it may develop pus. It's not always going to have pus necessarily. I would say if it does, it might be at the bottom. This is not a very good demonstration, but it kind of gives you an idea. The pustule is, I don't even think this is kind of what it does. A pustule is, it is inflamed, it is red, and it does have pus in it. And then there's this cystic nodule, which they call it a nodule, which it can turn into a nodule. A nodule is actually quite large. It's larger than 2 centimeters, or at least 2 centimeters or larger on the skin. And there are some people that do get that. Most people don't, though, if they have cystic acne. They're usually quite small, but very red, inflamed, and they're under the skin. So, for example, because that one was not the best, there are actually 4 levels of acne. And the first level is like just kind of like, as it mentions in my book that I have at school, it says that they're usually minor breakouts, mostly open comedones, some closed comedones, and a few uh, papules, which I would think were more pustules, really. Um, and then we have, so this one in particular right here. If you break out generally in this area, that's usually um, that time of the month. It's more hormonal area, particularly on the corners of the lips, in the chin area right here. Um, so this picture here is kind of like she's probably like going to start her period or is on her period. That's basically what that is right there. This is more of like a more like a kind of a open comedone. However, it does have a little bit of redness around it, so it could very well be a pustule, just because of it's slightly inflamed around. A lot of times, so a real open comedone would be something like right here. It's barely red. I mean, I try to find the one that doesn't have redness. I every once in a great while will get something like that where it's not red. There's just some pus there. And if you pop it, it's totally fine. It won't scar. It won't have a problem. It'll probably be gone within the next 2 or 3 hours, if not by the end of the day. But generally, there's no redness around it. It's just it's a closed comedone, which is basically just a clogged pore. Not a big deal. Just kind of get rid of it. It's totally fine as long as you're not aggressive with it, which you shouldn't be because those are not hard to pop. So this one's kind of like an open or a closed comedone slash pustule here, because this one might stay there for a good day or two just because of the redness around it. The second one is where it states it's many closed comedones, more open comedones, and occasional papules and pustules. So I chose this picture. It's a little different, and I'll explain this here in just a moment, or in a few minutes here. But there's generally more of things like this going on, and it could be in one area of the face. It could be kind of all throughout. Maybe it's just on the forehead, or it could be on the forehead and the chin area. Things like that, like how this girl is shown here a little bit. Then we have the um, level third level, which is red and inflamed, many comedones, papules, and pustules. So we've got the pustules and the papules and everything here. It doesn't even mention the closed there. So you just obviously have more and more and more. Now, of course, the fourth level is where it mostly this person could just be dealing with it right here in this general area, but it could also very well be all over. And of course, it basically is usually cystic acne too. It's cystic acne, cysts with comedones, papules, pustules, and inflammation are present. Scar formation from tissue damage is common. These are the people that will usually have those cratered afterwards because there's so much damage under the skin that it affects just the skin formation. And so I mentioned here again, this is that open comedone. I don't have a picture here of uh, oh, that was supposed to be a closed comedone. I'm sorry. This is supposed to be closed. I accidentally wrote open. It's a closed comedone. I just noticed that and I can't change it right now. Sorry. All right. So this is a closed comedone. It's closed because it has a head. The open one is a blackhead. So sorry about that. I just noticed that. I don't know if I said open earlier, but I meant to say closed. Is a blackhead, and I'll show you a few of those too. This is more of a pustule because it's inflamed, as you can see here. It does have some pus, and it looks like this one in particular has been there for a little while because the ones that tend to be there quite a while, not all, but usually those will turn yellow if you haven't done anything with them. These in a sense, should not necessarily be popped either. They're going to say don't pop any zits. Like I said, if you have a closed comedone, a clogged pore, those are fine. But as it starts getting more, uh, inflamed, having more of an infection, that's where it starts to kind of become like, okay, should you touch that or not? So this one has been here for quite a while because it's kind of yellow. It probably was white when it first started. Now the papule, it's like it forms this, acne, this bump, right? But there usually is not. It said it can develop pus, but it doesn't always. So sometimes it's just kind of like this little nod. I don't want to say nodule because that is actually a thing, but it just makes this little bump of redness. It's basically under the skin. And then this is a cyst. This right here is kind of out of, like, it was kind of hard to show just because I had to make the picture kind of small, but it was actually fairly large. It is under the skin, and sometimes they will develop pus on top as well. But usually the infection and everything is underneath, and it brings it up to a point where it's red, it's inflamed, and most of the time there's nothing to get out, and you definitely should not be trying to pop or poke or anything to try to get it out because there's a lot more of an issue underneath the skin. So I wanted to kind of mention also the different kinds besides the grades, but it's the different kinds of acne as well. So we've got hormonal acne. Like I mentioned, if you start to break out around this area, even the chin area here, and around like the jawline area here, that is also usually a hormonal acne. The ones that are more on the jawline can be hormonal, but it can also be other things. Usually it can be from cystic ovarian. Oh gosh, what is it called? PCOS, I think is the term I want to use. I am trying to think of how to say that right now, but usually this is hormonal acne. And this one in particular, it kind of goes with this picture right here. Sometimes what happens with me, for example, is I used to break out just like this picture right here, just like this picture. It is in the chin area, a lot here. I didn't really get anything in the jawline. Every once in a great while, I would get some maybe up here, but that was kind of unusual. It was mainly in this area right here, throughout the chin area, from side to side, from here to here. And what happened with me was that I would get most of them were like papules and pustules, where they usually mostly formed pus all the time though. So they were mostly probably more like pustules. But what would happen is if I did pop them, which I usually did, what would happen is the pus would be gone, and I might have a little, they were inflamed a little bit. They were red, and but they would just stay there forever. And it wasn't like a day or 2 or 3. It was like it would just stay there for weeks, like a good 2 to 3 weeks, and it would turn into a scab is what it would be, and it would just sit there. I tried so many different things like zinc and everything to kind of help heal the skin, get the body to be able to heal itself and everything, because it would just sit there, be this little red scab. And no matter how much I would clean it off or whatever, it would just always still be there, and it would be there for like 2 to 3 weeks. And then when that one would finally go away, another one would pop up in its place somewhere else. And it would never clear up. And I was really dealing with an issue on that. And then I found out what the problem was. And I will discuss a little bit more about that in this video. But I found out what my issue was, because I rarely get any breakouts anymore. If I do, it might be a clogged pore, and it's gone. So I really don't have problems with acne anymore. Now here is the open comedones. Not the closed, like I made a mistake on that last slide, I just realized. But this is the closed comedone, or open comedones. Can't even say it straight now anymore. They're blackheads. A lot of people see these all the time. They always talk about their blackheads. And a lot of times people see them mostly on the nose, and they might kind of notice, they think they're blackheads, but they're really sebaceous fulfillments, which we can talk about some other time. But now the other thing too, What happens here with blackheads is it's oxidation. So what happens is they're going to say that there's like dirt that gets stuck in it and that's what makes them black. There's some truth to that, but that's not really, that's probably less than 10% of what causes it to become black. It's oxidation. So like the oil, that your body is producing, your skin's producing, is it gets oxidized and it starts to turn black. And I'll talk more about it maybe in another video. I'm not going to go too far into it, but it's basically what it is. And it's I would say it's a form of cholesterol too. You got a lot going on in there. The thing I want to mention about in this particular picture here is they're pressing on the skin, right? And if you notice while they're pressing, they might even be pulling down a little bit. You notice how the skin is like making these lines, like it's being stretched, right? You can see it being kind of pulled. This person's skin is extremely dehydrated right now. One of the best ways to kind of squeeze these out would be to hydrate the skin, and those will just pop out like butter. It could take one shot of, like getting your skin hydrated, like a one-time thing to do it. However, some of these may not come out until you've hydrated your skin for a good week or so, and then it'll just squeeze out like butter. So this is another reason why hydrating your skin is really important, on top of the fact that that's part of the problem as to why they're having blackheads right now, is due to lack of hydration. It's not the full reason, but it is one part that makes this happen. Then there's fungal acne. Now this is not something that we were actually told about in school, just to let you know. This is something that I've researched a little bit, not extreme, but I do know obviously normal acne is made by a bacteria, and fungal acne is fungus, not bacteria. And it generally will look a little different. It doesn't always look quite like this, but it does have a little bit more of a specific look to it. It does need to be treated differently than than the general acne treatments. The fungal treatment, the fungal acne actually thrives on oil, and your skin is probably more than likely producing oil. So it's just thriving off of it. So there's things like I think it's squalene oil, that is a type of oil that the fungus doesn't actually like. So it will not thrive off of that. So it's things like you have to be really careful with what you're using. Certain moisturizers will have oils in them, and that can cause it to become worse. You don't want to be using those. You need to know how to kind of treat the fungal acne far differently than any other kind of acne out there when it comes to that. You have to use different products, things that don't have oils in them, unless it's like squalene oil or something like that, because that's an oil that does not allow it to thrive. They don't eat that kind of oil. So it's a different kind that it just doesn't work on. So, and just to give you that idea. Now, the pigment scars, a lot of times this will happen from obviously having acne for some time, but more or less probably like cystic acne, and a lot of like pustules and papules that you might have actually scarred your skin because maybe popping them. Sometimes you may not have, but it still leaves some damage underneath the skin. And so we've got this one in particular is pigment. I've had a few of those before, but usually if you take really good care of your skin and you know how to do it, those can disappear pretty well. These are going to take a while to really disappear. This person may want to use, definitely wear sunscreen, but then also maybe use more lightening ingredients and things like that. There's a little bit more to it than that. I could talk about it in another video too, because acne and scars and stuff can go into a whole nother stream of things. So, I'm already making this video kind of long. So sometimes we can have the pigment scars of acne, and then we can actually have the actual divoting. Sometimes it's called pitting or crater scars. And those are usually, a lot of times that is from obviously an immense amount of acne over a period of time. And a lot of times it's usually under the skin. A lot of cystic acne, but also a lot of pustules and papules as well. Not so much open, closed comedones, ones that are just a clogged pore. Those won't leave you scarring. And you really shouldn't get a lot of those. Those are like kind of uncommon. You might get one or two at a time at best. Those aren't a big deal. It's when there's an infection involved, inflammation, redness around it is where the skin can start having issues, and definitely things like cystic acne because it's underneath the skin a lot of the times. So I am going to talk a little bit about the triggers already, but I'll talk more about them here in just a moment. So the triggers can be obviously hormones. I talked about hormonal acne, stress. For me, when I stress, if I'm really stressed and I'm having and my body is kind of like having an acne moment, which I haven't had for probably a good year or two now. But I have noticed that at times I will, right in this general area here on both sides. Sometimes it's just one side, but in these, that's where I'll start to kind of sometimes break out. Cosmetic products, sometimes there's just something in it that your body's not happy with. Certain foods are an issue. You can have allergic reactions, and that could be something being placed on your skin, a skincare product, a cosmetic, or something you're eating. Obviously, genetics play a big role because that's kind of where you're set at in life, and whatever stress or cosmetic products or foods will decide to shift that for you. And then not proper exfoliating. Usually, what I mean by that is you could be exfoliating way too much. And I'll talk about that in just a moment. Common causes or common deficiencies that could be causing it. It may not even really be all of these things here. It could be that you're lacking vitamin A, you're lacking vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin B, D vitamin, and zinc. It could very well be your issue. You could be deficient in all of these. Most people kind of sort of are, but sometimes it could just be one thing, one or two things. Usually it's a mix of one or two, but it could be all of them. Another thing you could do is eating cruciferous vegetables can help the liver bind excess hormones and eliminate toxins. So if it is a hormonal issue, you could be using cruciferous vegetables in order to use that to kind of dispose of the extra hormones that could be causing your breakouts. So those would be like cauliflower, broccoli. I believe that's even there's cabbage, and I believe there's even things like Brussels sprouts, which I hate. And I think kale is actually under the cruciferous vegetable family, I believe too. Okay, so now that we've kind of discussed and I've shown you a little bit about this, I'm going to go back to the video and talk a little bit more in depth between them all. So sorry about the inconvenience here, but this video is going to become way too long, so I had to cut it up. So just look for it in the next week or two for the following information, all right? So thanks for visiting me here at Contour Image, and just remember to stay beautiful for life.